Now, for those who've been following us in our video episodes, there was that time when we were talking about some of the factors to look out for whenever you're selecting a female ewes at your farm. In that particular episode, we spoke about the best characteristics or some of the things to watch out for when you're purchasing them. And I promise that at some point, I'll also tell you some of the characteristics or factors to look out for when you're selecting a male ram to come to mount your female ewes at your farm. So this is the video for you where we'll be talking about that. And for those people who are joining us for the first time, this is Africa Farming, a channel focused on new generation farmers and new entrants in farming who are willing to learn new farming practices. So take a second or two to subscribe, hit on the notification bell so that YouTube can always notify you whenever whenever we release a new video. And thank you so much for considering to join the Africa Farming family. Right now we are on the road to 10,000 subscribers, and it's through your subscription that we'll be able to get to that particular number. Anywho, for those people who want to link with us on our social media handles, our handle is Africa Farming KE on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and Thread. And for those who are on Facebook and YouTube, you can always find us as Africa Farming. Let's get down to what we're supposed to discuss today. So what are some of these characteristics or factors that you need to look out for whenever you're selecting the male ram that is supposed to come mount your female ewes? So number one, we have what we call the estimated breeding value. Now what this basically means is just some of the things that you want to see, some of the characteristics that you want to see in your flock whenever you're multiplying them. So there are people who prefer bigger rams than others. Some people are scared of bigger rams because of their kids and all that. So depending on what you yourself, not other people, depending on you yourself, what characteristics you want to see in your flock as they keep multiplying. That is the first characteristic or first factor to consider. The second thing that you need to consider when choosing your male ram is to avoid the male rams that are actually overfed. Now, one thing is, overfed rams look perfectly good. They look big, they look masculine and all that. But one thing about them is they don't perform. And the whole idea as to why you're getting your male ram is so that they can actually come and mount your sheep. So you might have even 50 sheep, 50 ewes at your farm, and you need a male ram to come and, mount at least some of them. So you need a male ram that performs rather than a male ram that looks big. It's not about the looks, it's about performance. So don't look at those that are overfed. Find one that is well fed, something that will be able to perform at your farm. The other factor to also consider when you're choosing your male ram is what we call the ram moat. Now, when you're talking about the ram moat, we're talking about some of its characteristics like the teeth, the neck, some of these things you look out for. So whenever you're selecting your ram, go and look at all the teeth. Does it have all the teeth? So when we're talking about the teeth, the ram should not have spiky teeth, right? You also need to avoid rams that have missing teeth, because that might be due to maybe fighting and all that, which might result into the ram not performing, by the way. And also look at lumps on the jawline. When you're looking at the teeth, look at lumps on the jawline. That could be a sign of a disease. So you have to be very careful when you're looking at the teeth so that you notice some of these things. The other thing to look out for when it comes to the ram moat is the neck, the shoulders, and also the head. Look for signs of injuries and wounds, because that could actually have come out of fighting. And I think from the first point of the teeth, I told you, if a ram has been fighting all along, it kind of reduces its chances of performing when it comes to your farm. And also it might bring that fighting spirit in your farm, and it might end up injuring some of your sheep and also people who are actually working on your farm. But look at how the neck is, look at the shoulders, look at the head, how big the head is, how masculine it is. If you find the head of the sheep is masculine, that is a very good sign when it comes to a ram. The third thing to look out for is the body condition. When you just look at that sheep, does it look symmetrical? There are those rams that when you look at, from this side is kind of raised, from this side is kind of lowered. So you need to look at the body condition of the sheep from the side profile to the front profile. Make sure the legs are actually straight. The other thing when it comes to also the moat is the brisket. Look at signs of sous, so that those sous can actually be a sign that this thing is not right. The other thing to also look out for is the sheath. Sheath is where now the penis is, right? Check signs of infection, basically. And how do you know there is an infection? Number one, you might have sores. Number two, there might be discharge that is not clear and all that. So just try and check signs of any infection when it comes to the sheath. As I've said initially, look at also the legs. Are they symmetrical, or are they knocked? Are they, curved and all that? The best type of ram is where you have, like if you look at the front, you'll find that the legs are actually very straight. They are not bowed, they are not knocked. So if they are straight enough and symmetrical, that is a very good sign that you have a good male ram. One thing that I had forgotten when it comes to the mort is what we call the testes, yeah? We talked about the sheath, but we didn't talk about testes. Testes are the balls of the ram. So they actually, when you look from the back, they should actually be big and they should be firm. Very firm but springy, yeah? Another thing to also look out for when it comes to the mort, as just hand in hand with the testes, is what we call the scrotal circumference, yeah? So there is a circumference that you need to check out for. You need to go with your tape measure or something. Go measure the circumference of the scrotum. Scrotum is what holds the testes, right? It should be between 32 centimeters and 33 centimeters. So if you get a male ram that has between 32 centimeters and 33 centimeters in terms of the circumference of the scrotum, then you have a very, very good male ram. That means it is very capable of performance, right? Anything lower than that could be, maybe it is a young one, you never know, but if you're really bringing a ram specifically for production, it's good that they are between 32 centimeters and 33 centimeters in terms of the scrotal circumference. Now, all that actually falls under what we call the ram mort. Now, other than the ram mort, the other factor to also consider when it comes to selecting your male ram, which I think will be the last for us, is the vaccination, right? You need to check the history of that male ram. Most people actually buy male rams even without looking at the vaccination history, or just the general history of that ram. If you get to a place where you're being sold a ram and there is no history of the vaccination that the ram has gone through, or some of the infections that it has actually gone through, then it could be a bad sign, especially if you want to bring that ram for production purposes or for breeding purposes, basically. You need to know the vaccination history. What types of vaccines have actually been, administered to the ram, and if there are those that you need to administer at the farm, at least you should have that record so that you can keep the records going. Even if you want to sell the ram later on, you will have all the history. And especially as a farmer, when it comes to commercial breeding, you always need to have records for your male ram. There are those common diseases that we talked that attack sheep. So it's good to avoid them, and you only avoid them through some of these vaccinations. So those are some of the things that you need to consider when you're selecting your male ram at the farm, and especially for breeding purposes. So I hope some of these things that we've talked about will be helpful when you're bringing your male ram to your farm. And once you do that, kindly come back to our comment section and let us know if these characteristics helped you when you're selecting your male ram. Otherwise, if you're watching this video and you've not yet subscribed, kindly take just that second and subscribe to join the Africa Farming family so that we can get to the 10,000 subscribers that we so much are looking towards getting to. Otherwise, for now, is nothing but bye-bye, and always remember to changamka na ukulima. Bye-bye.